Every show has some aspects that aren't perfect. Degrassi isn't the exception. There's a lot to praise about the show, but there's also a lot to be annoyed by. I thought it would be fun to look back at every Degrassi season and see which plot lines I found the weakest, most boring, annoying, or just bad for whatever other reason. I'm going to focus on the 14 seasons of Degrassi The Next Generation just to keep things simple, especially since I know adding the other shows into the mix would make things more complicated for people that might not have seen them. Even though I'm going to be talking about a lot of plot lines from every season, the plot lines from the earlier seasons aren't nearly as bad as the plot lines in the later seasons. Although I thought these plot lines were weaker, I can't say that there's a straight up bad episode from season 1 or 2, especially when the show is just starting to feel itself out, so you have to cut it some slack a little bit. But when a show goes on for 5 or 10 seasons, you start to feel the seasonal rot in plot lines. There are also plot lines that I've talked about before. Some of them I can't avoid because of how bad they are, but I'll try not to repeat myself too much. Season 1 has a very Degrassi high / junior high feel where most of the plot lines are self-contained and don't really carry over that much. The plot lines are also a lot more tame and less dramatic than later seasons, so we get a lot of fun plot lines focusing on the daily struggles that middle schoolers and high schoolers deal with, like getting your first period or pulling pranks, rumors, and establishing some of the students' home lives. There's nothing wrong with that because it's a specific charm that the show has and it feels nostalgic. Because season 1 is starting and establishing the characters and their conflicts, there aren't any plot lines that I can classify as the worst. For the most part, season 1 is a good starting point to establish what Degrassi is about. The worst of the plot lines definitely come later. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Ashley, I'm not like an Ashley hater or anything. Episode 13 of season 1 focuses on a Paige and Ashley feud. Paige and Terri decide to use her tarot cards to convince Ashley to do what they want for the band.
Your day will end unexpectedly, with a twist. What is that supposed to mean? It means you should watch out. You predicted a twist, and she just twisted her ankle. Who am I to argue with the oracles? You're in, Paige.
And unlike season 2, where there was a reason for Paige and Ashley to bump heads over a song choice, specifically because Paige didn't want to play a song that reminded her of what she went through, they just fight over petty things like the name of the band or how they dress.
What are you wearing?
Our new look, you like?
I don't. You want us to look like prostitutes?
Fine, I'll go get us some non-costumes.
It's like Paige wants to control the band and Ashley is just pissed off with it. It's irritating too because Ashley is also uptight and wants things to just go exactly her way. The best part of this episode was Mr. Simpson referencing Degrassi High.
Wish I had it back when I was in a band. This is Remedy. We even had a video. You ever heard of us? Everybody wants something. I'll take that as a no.
I can't get angry though, since a plotline like this is considered a masterpiece compared to what we're going to get to. One plotline that annoyed me from season 2 was one involving Ashley and Jimmy. The episode starts off with Jimmy watching Ashley play a song for him, but he's clearly disinterested. He hates her new goth look and subtly tries to push her in the direction of changing her look back to how it was before, including hanging an old picture of her in his locker, even though she clearly doesn't like it, and it just feels so petty of a reason for Jimmy to not want to date her, especially since they dated before and he knows who she is as a person, and he should just accept how she wants to express herself.
I look awful.
Got that right, freak show? Sorry.
Happens all the time.
Jokes like him knew how beautiful you were on the inside and keep their mouth shut.
He's also 14, so of course he's afraid of being judged, but still. I just didn't like how much Jimmy was trying to push it on her when she clearly was uncomfortable.
It's supposed to replace that one.
More pictures of you, the better.
I mean it. Which do you like more?
The old one, okay? The old one.
Ashley ends up breaking up with Jimmy because he doesn't like her new look, or how she chooses to express herself. It's not the message that I don't like about the episode, because Ashley choosing to break up with Jimmy makes sense if he's not going to accept how she looks. I just hate how Jimmy is so pushy about it and ends up losing her because of it. I think season 3 is probably one of the strongest written seasons, where most of the plot lines feel like they explore characters and their decisions and motivations. We got to see different sides to characters and see certain characters make some pretty bad decisions that still feel aligned with their characterization. For example, I think Shawn is fairly well explored through the season, seeing him make worse decisions as he gets more involved with Jay, like stealing Mr. Simpson's laptop even after knowing he had cancer. I think they do a good job of Shawn realizing how badly he messed up and working to make it right by fixing his car. I like that characters are shown to have self-reflection. As we know, Craig and Ashley start dating throughout season 3, and once Manny gains more confidence and changes her look, she catches Craig's attention. Ashley and Craig have communication problems that stem from Craig being unable to tell Ashley how he genuinely feels, and this might come from the fact that Craig struggles with understanding his feelings internally, and because of that he avoids communicating them with Ashley. When they get into a fight, Manny takes advantage of Craig's feelings of frustration and also tells him everything that he wants to hear. They end up having sex, Ashley changes her mind, of course, and apologizes to Craig, and they get back together. Of course, Craig still sees Manny behind Ashley's back until they both find out about his lying, and both end it with him. Manny ends up getting pregnant, which makes things more complicated and causes even more anger from Ashley. Even though Craig does eventually see how badly he hurt Ashley, it still doesn't save it from being on this list. I haven't really touched on this aspect of it before, but this was definitely a turning point where Ashley's character wasn't really being focused on in the same way as previous seasons. Like I said, Ashley isn't anyone's favorite character, but you do notice that she had full plot lines that focused on her character and the mistakes she made. Every plotline after this only uses Ashley as a support in someone else's plotline, or just characterizes her in a way that makes more people annoyed with her. Season 4, she's only there really to be Craig's girlfriend. She doesn't have plotlines central to her character after this point, and then later her character is only brought back to be a love interest for Jimmy, essentially to use her for more conflict. And when you think about the plotline she had in seasons 1 and 2, you can see that Ashley played a bigger role on the show and was one of the main focuses in the earlier seasons. And then her role just gets diminished, probably because the writers couldn't really think of anything else for her or how to progress her character. After examining the show as much as I have, I've started to notice things like this. And it's unfortunate because even though I wasn't a huge fan of Ashley, it does show that even early on the character bias was there, and certain characters got shafted because of this. I think Terri's characterization in the show is mixed for me as well. Although I can relate to her feelings and insecurities toward being overweight, I wish that was focused on more, especially because in season 3 she enters a relationship where she ends up getting abused. Although this insecurity is brought up a little, I definitely think it could have been focused on more while she entered this relationship with Rick, while also showing Rick using this insecurity to make her feel bad about herself. I'm well aware that this is a teen soap, so I know that they're not going to go too deep with it. I just feel like if we got 1 or even 2 more episodes focusing on the worsening relationship throughout the season, we could have gotten more time to see the longer effects of the relationship and the effects that it's having on Terri. I think that Rick's plotline is written well enough. There is something that I still hate about Terri getting in an abusive boyfriend plotline, and we don't really get to see much reflection from Terri. They start dating in 1 episode and he starts abusing her. She breaks up with him by the end of the episode. Terri ends up leaving the show after this, so there really isn't any closure for her character. We don't even hear her talk about Rick again after this. She doesn't get another plotline. There's just so much to explore character-wise that we don't really get to see, and Terri's character is just basically forgotten about after this. The only reason that this plotline doesn't really bother me more is because Rick does return to the show in the following season, and it's one of the more iconic plotlines of the show. We also get some acknowledgement about Terri from Rick, even if it still doesn't excuse his actions. I know that I've already talked about Joey and Caitlyn, but I can't not talk about this plotline being a drag to season 3. I was never really a fan of Caitlyn and Joey as a couple, but it's not because I couldn't have seen it. It's more because it always felt like the show never really wanted to work through their problems as a couple, and maybe progress by learning to communicate. And the show was also aware that Caitlyn's job also kept her from being invested entirely in the relationship. Joey's insecurities also add to this, that ultimately made it so the relationship couldn't work. It was because Caitlyn and Joey could never learn to communicate their problems with each other in a healthy way, which is why it always led to fighting. When Joey actually meets a woman that seems invested in him and actually wants to start a life with him, she's made out to be the bad guy because she doesn't like that Joey's ex is just hanging around all the time. And it's also to make Caitlyn look better in comparison. Sydney's worries made sense, and I don't know, I just feel bad for her when Joey breaks up with her. I feel bad that Joey and Sydney weren't actually given a chance, especially since Joey and Caitlyn don't ever really work out things. So it makes this plotline more frustrating when I go back and revisit it.
Because every time I turn around, there's Caitlyn. She's supposed to be your ex.
She is.
Put a lot into this, Joe. I want this to work. I need this to work. Because I love you. But you don't feel the same. Tell me I'm your first choice. Tell me you love me more than Caitlyn.
We'll return to them for season 4 because I'm not finished talking about how much this show seems to hate this relationship. It almost feels like they write them to get back together just so they can write these conflicts for them to inevitably break up. Although season 4 is a pretty well written season overall, there were some plot lines that did annoy me for one reason or another. Season 3 established that JT and Manny liked each other and even started dating briefly, but it didn't take long for the writers to get bored with this and write their way out of the relationship. I just was never one that could see JT and Manny being compatible anyway, and it seems like the writers agreed since they couldn't really think of anything to do with them in season 4. It's not like I can blame them either. They just don't have that depth in their relationship where they can really go anywhere. I thought it was weird that Manny was paired up with JT at all in season season 3. And season 4, Manny starts to get annoyed with JT and his immature habits. It's not that this doesn't make sense to me, JT has always been immature and childish, but what really confuses me is that Manny was well aware that JT was immature. What's really significantly changed between seasons 2 and 3 that would have caused her to think that he had outgrown this behavior? Maybe she thought that he wasn't as immature as he used to be and then realized she was wrong. JT, in order to impress Manny, gets a penis pump, and for some reason he decides to use it while she's right outside the door and eventually gets caught using it. She breaks up with him after that, and as you can tell, I'm just really sad about it. What annoys me more about this is that the writers did dedicate time to developing something between Manny and JT in the previous season, only for the relationship to legitimately go nowhere. There was also a plotline where Emma gets jealous of Liberty when she notices that she's attracted to her previous boyfriend, Chris, and then she goes out of her way to make Chris think that she's still attracted to him, just so that Liberty won't date him because she's worried about how people will view her. This was basically the start of Emma's mean girl arc. It's such a shallow reason for her to be upset about Liberty going out with him because it's not even like we saw how much Chris meant to her anyway. I just don't like how Emma views Liberty in this way, like she's so beneath her, like she's not good enough or pretty enough to be with her boyfriend.
What are people gonna think of me if Chris goes out with Liberty next?
That's the meanest thing I've ever heard you say, and that's really saying something.
Maybe I'd feel different about it if they showed Emma being jealous of Liberty for other reasons. This comment wouldn't feel so mean, because you could tell it wasn't from a genuine place, but the way she says it just feels like she's looking down on Liberty. At least I can see her behavior with Jay as being a trauma response to the shooting, but why is she so mean to Liberty? Like, what did she do? I know they're also trying to show that Emma wants to be recognized by Paige and all the others, so that might be why she's acting so mean, but at the same time, I wish this wasn't so out of nowhere and at least was developed a little. I also think I wouldn't have hated it as much if she was shown feeling more bad about how she treated Liberty. I also like how Manny told Liberty what Emma said about her. Even though Manny and Emma are closer, it was pretty cool that she cares enough about Liberty to tell her the truth instead of keeping it to herself. I also like that Liberty gets to call out Emma too, so it's not a total loss.
You're dead to me. Manny told me. Jealousy's really ugly, Emma.
It's just hard for me letting Chris go.
It's easy for me letting you go straight to hell.
But I think this really did make Emma look really bad to me. She was definitely annoying before. It was usually something she felt passionate about to a certain extent, even if you didn't agree with her. But something about this just feels really beyond petty. This season also makes Spinner pretty unlikable, from how he demeans Paige to emotionally cheating on her with Manny.
Any more and you'll get grease stains on your pants, honeybee.
Okay, so a quarter more popcorn. And a smidge more butter. Good girl.
It's nice.
There's always Manny.
Gotta make me the bad guy. Put me back in my place.
If anyone has been put in her place lately, it's me.
Why are you so hung up on this?
Because last night, you weren't fighting over me.
I think that's also why I get more angry with the reason why Manny broke up with JT. Isn't Spinner also extremely immature? I mean, I guess he's a little bit more manly looking compared to JT, but let's not act like Spinner isn't immature, especially the way he bullies Rick. I couldn't believe that the writers even entertained the idea of Manny and Spinner, if I'm gonna be honest. That always felt forced and rushed at the same time. It doesn't even really go far. Once Manny finds out about his involvement in the shooting, she's just done with him. I also kind of noticed that Manny has really little going on in season 4 compared to the previous season. I think that's also why her plot lines basically just involve being with guys in a superficial way. You guys already know that I was never a fan of Marco and Dylan. First, because Dylan kind of seemed a little too old for Marco. Dylan seemed like he had more experience. I also feel like he was never serious about Marco, even though the show was trying to convince me that he was. Dylan was also never explored either. His decisions always felt like a way to cause conflict, and it never really felt like they had any genuine conflicts that they could work through. It was just because the writers needed a conflict for Marco and Dylan, so let's rely on a cheating plot line. It's also not like Dylan and Marco ever had too many plot lines that really explored their relationship in a meaningful way, so we don't really know much about Dylan other than the fact that he's gay, he's Paige's brother, and he's serious about hockey. I mean, from what he says, he cares for Marco, but his decisions contradict this at times in a way that feels inexcusable. Dylan just feels like a character that is there so Marco can have a boyfriend, but there isn't a time where I can say that I am actually invested in the relationship because they don't really give me anything to be invested in. Marco and Dylan break up and it's not like it's felt at all because we never focus on them as a couple, so I didn't even notice that Marco was with him or not. I just feel like the writers missed the opportunity to develop their relationship with a little bit more depth. I know that time is limited between so many other characters, but I think Marco and Dylan could have had conflicts that developed from a natural place of insecurity instead of just coming out of nowhere for a plotline. And we're back to Caitlyn and Joey. Earlier in the season, we saw that Joey had some insecurities around Caitlyn buying his house, partly coming from feeling inferior to Caitlyn, who seems to be doing better off in her career. It also goes into the feelings of traditional masculinity and how this affects men, feeling like they have to be the sole provider or feeling like they have to make more money, particularly in heterosexual relationships, because men have been conditioned to believe that they have to take care of women financially.
Can you put your male pride aside for 1 second?
This is about me raising my own family and running my own business.
And when he notices that Caitlyn was able to come in and buy his house, he feels inadequate, like he can't live up to her or provide for his own family. And this is an interesting character flaw that I think could have been explored. It adds a little bit more nuance to the conflicts that they've had up until this point. Things get worse for Caitlyn and Joey when Caitlyn starts spending more time with Kevin Smith, getting advice from him, emotional support. And when she gets an offer to advance her career, this also causes more issues between Caitlyn and Joey.
They want to revive Ryan's planet. Well, of course, I can't accept it. Leave my family.
Will you fly off the handle?
And you don't think!
Kevin and I saw what you couldn't. His heart was breaking.
I am more concerned about his mind right now because you want to consider yourself part of this family.
Don't pull the family card. Because if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even have a roof over your head, remember?
Caitlyn ends up kissing Kevin while she's drunk, which makes the situation worse. I also find myself annoyed with Kevin and his behavior for this woman that he hasn't really known that long. He knows that she's in a long-term relationship to the point where she was proposed to, and he gets jealous and angry and then takes it out on her during filming.
Start acting like you're not up in your head thinking about wedding gowns.
Maybe you should start acting like a director and not some jealous boyfriend.
Maybe you should try acting like an actress instead of whatever it is, the TV. She's gone.
Also, his buddy Jason Mewes is a complete creep, and the show uses these moments for comedy when Ellie is a teenager.
The teenage girl thing has to stop. It was funny the first time, now it's just sick. It's sick.
Can you take your hand off my knee?
What was I doing there? Naughty. It's pathetic.
Jay, when I was born, Star Wars had already been out on video for 10 whole years. You're too old.
It's just so weird for a show that usually condemns stuff like this, using this for comedy. It's just such a jarring decision. I'd probably say by the next generation, I was less of a fan of Caitlyn, because it always felt like she was never serious about things she wanted. She was so sure of her feelings for Joey to the point where he ended his current relationship to be with her, only for her to really just focus more on her career than her relationship, which is understandable if that's a choice she wants to make, but she was just never fully committed. It's just frustrating because it feels like Caitlyn's character isn't taken seriously. Throughout the first couple of seasons, although they aren't focused on too much, it does feel like the writers didn't know how to incorporate Caitlyn by this point, where with Joey it was a little easier, since he was a close friend to Archie and now also takes care of Craig, a character that regularly gets plot lines on the show. So it makes sense that Joey would be easier to write in than Caitlyn. For the little that we do get on focus with Joey, we do see that he wants to find someone after his wife died. We get points where he reflects on his youth. We get to see Joey as an adult being a father to Angela and Craig. We got to see his insecurities around being a parent and around dating. Like I said, it's not a lot, but Joey definitely feels more explored as a character than Caitlyn does. I think it was harder to write solo plots for her. When we do get some insight on her feelings, there are parts of her character and her decisions that feel understandable, but at the same time, it also feels like the writers don't know what to do with Caitlyn and Joey, so they just keep falling back on pairing them together when what they have is mostly from their past. And even though they care for one another, it's just clear that both of them are in a different place in their lives where it just won't work for them as a couple anymore. And that's fine, because I think it's a better decision when characters can end the relationship understanding that it's best for both of them. One of the worst plot lines of season 4 was the developing relationship between Paige and her teacher. What started as a crush turns into a full-on relationship, and the show even attempts to justify it, even though they're well aware that it's wrong.
Wait, he's not Marco's teacher.
Well, you're not mine. Not really. Fine, it's not conventional, but I thought you of all people would understand.
It also seems like the writers are aware of it being wrong based on how the characters go about hiding their relationship, but at the same time it feels like the writers want to be able to have their cake and eat it too, where they acknowledge that there is a power imbalance, that Matt is crossing boundaries. And what I mean by trying to justify the relationship, it's because Paige specifically brings up Matt's age.
You're what, my brother's age? A year older than that? He's dating Marco?
The guy's a predator.
He's like the same age as you. Are you preying on Marco?
Kind of trying to downplay the relationship between the two. interview, even though Matt doesn't deny this when Paige asked. It's so weird to me, a show like Degrassi that has depicted what happens when a teacher abuses their position and takes advantage of a student. This was because there was never an element of romanticizing it in any way. It's like the show is saying that Matt isn't wrong, it's just the circumstance in which he met Paige that's wrong. But otherwise, this guy who is in university that may very well be over 19 is interested in this junior in high school and convinces her that this is a good idea. Paige even thinks it's okay to give up her school year for this guy. It's depicted as a romantic gesture that Matt ends up taking the fall, when it's not him taking the fall because Paige isn't at fault. She's a student being taken advantage of. What Matt did wasn't a romantic gesture, it's him taking accountability for what he did after getting caught.
We had a relationship. We've seen each other outside of school. It shouldn't have happened. I take full responsibility.
Matt's not perfect. He's just
disgusting.
Just wonderful and sweet and fun, and he put everything on the line for me.
It's not like Matt felt guilty for taking advantage of Paige. He came clean so she wouldn't be punished too severely, and he still decides to be with her afterwards. He doesn't really self-reflect, he ruins his own career, and then ends up breaking up with Paige anyway, after his life starts to unravel. He literally manipulated this teenager into thinking they had this deep relationship, and then he just leaves because he's just tired of her. It's such an infuriating plotline because it feels like the writers didn't really accomplish the message that they set out for, which should be, under any circumstance, a no-go when it comes to teacher and student relationships, or someone in a position of power taking advantage of their subordinate. If that wasn't their intent, then all they did was write a storyline in which a teacher takes advantage of their student, and it's fine as long as they're only a few years older than them, and if they eventually take the fall for the student. He's treated like Paige's screw-up boyfriend. Everyone around her kind of just normalizes it. No one really thinks this is that odd. Even if he is condemned a little for his actions, the fact that they have Paige continue a relationship with him is what frustrates me. He breaks up with her because the writers wanted to write their way out of this plotline instead of having Paige come to the conclusion that she was being taken advantage of. I just really dislike this plotline for Paige, especially when in the same season she had a plotline confronting Dean, someone that did take advantage of her. I think it makes it worse that the writers didn't have Paige make the connection about how she was being taken advantage of by another older man. It would have added some depth to the plotline instead of them continuing to date until the writers didn't want to deal with the plotline anymore. After Manny blabs the truth about Matt, Paige starts to take her anger out on Manny. I'm not a huge fan of this petty rivalry because it doesn't really add anything new to the characters, and most of the time it just makes me annoyed with both characters because of their behaviors, especially Paige in this one.
I hate that you hate me. Out of the dress and my airspace. Unless Manny, Darcy, Shantae, and you all want off the squad, Manny's the mascot. Consider my foot down.
When Paige wants to become the center of attention, she makes the other girls catch her when they're used to catching Manny. As a way of trying to get even with her, they sabotage her during the cheer and she ends up being dropped. This leads to her breaking her leg. Hazel's the only one with really sense in this entire episode.
All you can do is whine. Manny stepped up and ran a spirit squad for you when you were too self-involved. She was horrible to me. But can you tell me why you had to be more horrible back? Why you always have to be more horrible?
And Paige decides to do one of the most despicable things she's ever done.
Well served, Manny.
Also, I really don't like the way Kevin responds to catching Manny here.
You alright? We're gonna definitely be shooting here, Miss Ryan.
I guess I will say for the end, Paige does realize that she was jealous of Manny, and Manny takes the high road on this one, so it's not completely horrible.
You made me look stupid. You took credit for my work. You make me look like a full fat spaz.
She's jealous. Don't drink anything else tonight. The girls went out for laxatives.
Thanks for the tip. At least it's summer now.
Yeah, summer's good.
Season 5 is where I start to notice storylines becoming weaker. The show is starting to rely more on love triangles and petty romance drama instead of issues that made the show stand out. I've already talked to death about Ellie and Craig, but a video like this wouldn't be complete without at least mentioning it, so let's get this over with. After a whole summer of Craig and Ellie getting close, she's now developed a crush on him, and he doesn't really seem to notice. Things get worse when he invites Manny to their gig, and Ellie gets jealous. I've also mentioned that this is also where I start to really not like Ellie's character as much. Her plot lines are mostly surrounded by guys or her inability to get over Craig. I just wish there could have been an arc for her where she was able to genuinely get over Craig after he hurt her. Craig and Manny get back together and we haven't seen them interact in over a season, but whatever, I guess. Ellie doesn't even have a single plot line this season that focuses on her that isn't involving Jimmy or Craig. It just feels really petty of a plot line at this point, especially when Manny was hurt so badly by Craig and seems to just just be fine with hanging out with him again, when they never really talked out everything. To be fair, it also makes sense that Manny would start talking with Craig again, especially after what happened with having naked images sent all over the school. He might be one of the only people she trusts. Ellie ruining her gig because she was annoyed with Manny is pretty frustrating to watch. Like I mentioned, Jimmy develops feelings for Ellie when she takes an interest in his art, and maybe if this felt a little bit more naturally developed, I could be a little less annoyed with it, but it doesn't even take long for Jimmy to just start developing feelings for Ellie. We don't get that much focus on Hazel and Jimmy, but that's always been a problem for me since Hazel and Jimmy got together. It felt like they were paired up because they were the two people of color in the cast instead of something that was more naturally focused on. After Jimmy got shot and paralyzed, I thought maybe we get to see how this affected their relationship, but we don't really get to see if Hazel was ever really worried about their relationship going forward. The stem of their problems is that Hazel isn't interested in his art and that he can't really communicate his problems to her, and Ellie just understands Jimmy so much better, when we really didn't get to see too much of that either. In the end, it's not like we really get to see anything come of it because Ellie doesn't have feelings for Jimmy. We only really get to see Jimmy's perspective, which feels a little limited. I wish we could have seen Ellie noticing his feelings and worrying not to hurt him or something. At least it would have made it a little bit more interesting. Hazel and Jimmy break up and then we get no focus on Jimmy's feelings. Like maybe it's getting harder to be friends with Ellie or something. Anything to add some depth to this plotline, because the way it stands, I can't really get invested in it. We don't really get to see how these feelings affected Jimmy. What makes it even worse is that Ashley just comes back after a season and decides to kiss Jimmy after being rejected, when they haven't even dated for years at this point. I'm not even against them dating again, especially since it's been a while and it could be interesting to see how their relationship changed, but they kiss and then they're just together. I wish there was a little bit of build-up at least, showing some concerns on Ashley's end about getting back together with Jimmy, or something that convinced me that this relationship didn't just come out of nowhere to give Jimmy a girlfriend. I know that I've said before that Simpson's cheating plotline was one of the cheating storylines that at least explored the repercussions of what happens when someone cheats. However, I don't really like this plotline. I'm fine with the setup, Simpson feeling inadequate in life and he's looking for something to excite him. I just think to do this storyline right, they need to focus more on Archie and Christine's relationship worsening. Don't get me wrong, for what we get, we do see that they're having problems in the relationship, but because the show has such a large cast to focus on, we don't really get that focus on the relationship that we probably needed for a plotline like this. We get some focus on both of them struggling with how to move forward, but it still doesn't feel like enough for me to fully be invested in the plotline. And then the way the plotline is resolved annoys me because it falls into that trope of romantic grand gesture, and even though this is sweet, it still doesn't really resolve all of the problems in the relationship, and we don't really get any focus on them repairing things, even indicating that they're gonna go to therapy or something. I think there was a plotline here that could have been explored more, but it wasn't really given the time to execute it more meaningfully to me. I've never been a fan of Darcy and Spinner. I doubt many have, and it's not just their relationship that's a problem to me, but I wasn't feeling the whole Spinner joins the prayer group at the school to try to repent for his actions. It's not necessarily that I'm against Spinner being curious about religion and trying to better himself, but I don't feel like the show really dedicates enough time to it. We get a petty, annoying plotline where Spinner and Marco start to reconnect until his new friends start to condemn Marco for promoting safe sex. I like the part where we get to see Spinner and Marco hanging out again, and I like how Spinner explains that he was basically saved by them, but the part I hate about the episode is the conflict that erupts and that causes more issues.
Why don't you try going to church?
I do, every Sunday.
And they let you in?
What's that supposed to mean?
I think you know exactly what it means. The Bible's clear about sexual deviancy.
Who is this bigoted freak?
It's better than being a homo.
It also really feels like he's doing this because of Darcy and not because he's really connected to religion. Because after they break up, it's not like he continues to do this or anything. Also, when the issue of sex comes up for Darcy and Spinner, Jay of course gets involved and starts to make Darcy worry that Spinner will break up with her if she doesn't have sex with him, basically making her feel like she has to do it with him.
It's Manny. She's moving in on him. He keeps trying to fight her off, but how long can he keep fighting? I mean, he's a guy, and well, if he doesn't get something soon, then game over. Sometimes you gotta bend the rules.
And then Spinner and Jay get into a fight, and it's pretty annoying.
Said you wanted some action. I was trying to help you get it. No, you just wanted to ruin it. Like you've ruined everything in my life. Jimmy, and now Darcy. Oh yeah. I'm the devil. I'm the evil low-down sinner. Somebody save me.
Sex comes up again later when Darcy gets upset about the fact that Spinner has had sex before.
Manny, even you can become pure again. All it takes is repentance, considering you are the school's biggest slut. You are the last person to ever call me that! You lied about being a virgin, Spinner. She told me.
and even when he becomes a born-again Christian, she still gets upset with him when she finds out exactly who he's had sex with.
How am I ever gonna trust you? You lied to me, Spinner.
It's not about God or anything except your stupid jealousy.
Believe what you want to believe.
I believe I will never be clean enough.
And we all know how this turns out. Spinner has sex with Paige, and then he actually wants something more from her. And then she says how she doesn't plan on dating him again. Darcy finds out about what happened between them. Then he chases after Darcy like she's the consolation prize after Paige rejected him. It's such a mess of a plotline in my opinion. One of the only plotlines going on for Marco this season, of course, involves bringing Dylan back, which was a mistake. I always felt like that because we never got more focus on Marco and Dylan's relationship. On top of that, poor Tim is just caught in the middle of all this, a new relationship that could have been between Marco and Tim, and at least try to expand upon that. And I stand behind the fact that Marco got back together with Dylan because they have history, so the writers wouldn't really have to focus on developing an entirely new relationship. I've already talked about this plotline before, but it's still annoying nonetheless. Another plotline that I completely despised was Emma and Peter's relationship, but it's even worse when you think about how they got together. Emma, who had a crush on Peter in the beginning of season 5, ends up dating Peter later on in the season, despite the fact that Peter not only filmed Manny topless, but then sent it around the whole school. It's probably still one of the most despicable things that Peter ever did, and Emma still ends up going out with him anyway, even though she doesn't immediately go out with him. It doesn't take a lot from Peter to eventually convince Emma to go to his house, only to end up sympathizing with him for his living conditions. And even though the show is attempting to give some more insight into Peter's character, I still don't like Emma even considering dating him. I guess seeing her sympathize with him a little bit is fine, but there's something that feels really wrong about the fact that Emma ends up dating Peter, seeing how her friend was affected by this. It's just a really shitty thing for Emma to do, and then continues to sneak around with Peter, knowing how Manny would feel about it. Like, shouldn't she be disgusted by him? I just don't think that's a line you cross as a friend. One of the worst decisions the writers ever made, and definitely made me respect Emma less for it. I've already talked about how Shawn was done dirty by the writers. One of the worst decisions that the show ever made was bringing Shawn back after a season and a half just to be Emma's love interest. Emma ends up cheating on Peter with Shawn, who ends up getting framed by Peter when he plants drugs in his locker. It doesn't take long for Emma to cheat on Peter either, and it doesn't really seem like she feels that badly about it. I also hate that Shawn was brought back just for him to get involved in something so reckless that ends up putting him in jail. Peter also doesn't really feel bad at all, and the way he responds is just selfish and sociopathic. It's such a convoluted plotline to get Emma to break up with Peter. I just feel if they wanted to pair Emma and Shawn again, they could have naturally integrated him into the season, so it didn't feel like the only reason he was brought back was to basically be a supporting character to Emma. It also just strips a lot of the depth of the character that Shawn was. I would have liked to see more how Shawn was affected by this and almost killing someone, especially after what happened with Rick. I think that it could have added some more depth to him. It's clear that that's not why Shawn was brought back. Which brings me to another plotline I hated this season. Shawn ends up finding out about what happened between Emma and Jay in season 4, and then gets angry with Emma and Jay, which is understandable, but I think what irritates me the most about this plotline is that it felt like it was just brought up to have a conflict with Emma. This is the first thing that is focused on once Shawn is released from prison. Is there really nothing else that we could do first before getting to a plotline like this? I guess I do like how things are resolved where they talk it out and Shawn realizes that he was running away from his problems. The biggest thing for me is that I wish there was more focus on Shawn, focusing on rebuilding his life. I just wish that he was treated like a main character with his own stuff going on. One of the worst plot lines of the show was having Paige start messing around with Jesse, Ellie's ex-boyfriend, while still messing around with Spinner, because she just wants to have a casual relationship. We haven't really seen Paige struggling with her anxiety, but when Spinner and Jesse start fighting, we do see her start to have a panic attack. I think I get annoyed with these types of plot lines because there is something to say about Paige being afraid to enter a relationship, while also being stressed about where she's gonna go next after dropping out of college. So I just wish that the episode had more to say than Paige just wants to have a casual relationship and that's it, because I feel like there is more to say there. It just feels like a waste of time when we're just still focusing on characters that have graduated and this is the best that they can do with their plot lines. Like, characterization is really important to me in a show show because it really adds depth to a character. So when something's established in a show that's interesting to explore about a character, it's just a little frustrating when they don't really go anywhere with it. Since I've already talked about Craig and Ellie before, I'll be brief. After touring for a bit, Craig is back and Ellie still has lingering feelings for him. Even though she's dating Jesse, it's revealed that Craig is doing cocaine, and once Ellie finds out, she tries to help him the best that she can, but Craig is only using her to get what he wants, and he's not ready to really confront his addiction. This plotline feels like it has more that can be explored about Craig, but he's really just used as a plot device so Ellie can recognize that he doesn't have feelings for her, and it's really just to stir up conflict. Craig, like Ashley, like Shawn, were characters that were explored in the past and are now used as plot devices to advance another character's storyline. I'm not sure if there was a reason why the actor was written off, but I do wish that we got some more of Craig's experiences with being bipolar and also being an addict. It's unfortunate that it feels like his storyline was a little incomplete. After giving their baby up, JT and Liberty broke up. Although they clearly still have feelings for each other, the show insists upon a love triangle plotline. Liberty becomes jealous of JT's new girlfriend Mia. It's clearly supposed to be that plotline where we know that the characters will get back together, but they need an obstacle to be between them. So when we see JT and Mia together, you just feel more bad for Liberty, especially when she can't tell him her feelings. She eventually gets so jealous that she tells Mia about their baby, just to piss Mia off.
Gave him up for adoption last year. I don't usually talk about it much. After JT sold drugs, I really had no choice but to give him up.
What?
He didn't tell you? Typical.
It also is tragic because JT ends up getting murdered before they can reconcile. I'm not gonna lie, this plotline did feel like a drag, especially when you know what they're setting up and how you know Mia isn't meant to be a long-term love interest for JT, so what's the point of even getting invested in the relationship? For what it's worth, I do like that Liberty and Mia end up becoming friendly with each other. The petty behavior of Liberty was just really annoying at times, especially when she put Mia on blast about Isabella and the whole daycare thing.
Our community can benefit from this.
You mean your girlfriend can?
Yeah, and?
And so this isn't practical for Degrassi.
Since judgmental robots make the decisions.
You of all people know I'm not alone.
The reason that you won't support the Degrassi daycare is purely selfish. Is that right, Ms. President?
When you're on a rewatch of this show, the plotline feels like even more of a drag because you know how it's going to end up. After Alex left her mom when she took her abusive boyfriend back, Paige starts to get annoyed with Alex and her inability to take anything seriously. It's so frustrating because although Alex never had a concrete plan for the future, I do feel like her character was also regressed for the sake of the plot. Paige asks her for a simple favor and she can't even do that. Instead of just doing what she wants, she justifies her actions behind the fact that Paige works for petty rich people.
I saw a pair of $1,200 shorts tonight. $3,000 for chocolate? That's 3 months rent to where I come from. And if this isn't happiness, Paige, this is a lame temp gig that has you acting like a diva. You actually care about this artificial crap? Paige, you wrap presents and iron dresses like a maid. Sorry if I have principles.
Which, even if true, doesn't mean that she should just leave Paige high and dry when she asks for a favor. She wears an important dress knowing what Paige's job is and knowing that she shouldn't be doing that. Alex is just acting more childish in this episode than she really ever has up until this point.
I can't drive. I'm too stoned.
Take off the dress now!
But I was trying to surprise you.
Well, congratulations!
And it's not like they're planning on exploring her character in any way, because the writers just have Alex piss Paige off to the point where she ends her relationship with Alex, and then she just leaves the show. We have no idea how things will end up for Alex, and Paige doesn't really seem to care. I hated how it took Paige and Alex's relationship and just made it worse. Instead of actually maybe trying to develop their relationship through a conflict like this, they just wanted Paige to go back to being single. It just feels like the writers got bored of Alex and Paige. The last episode we saw showed them in a more promising place, and then this episode just completely ruins everything. I'll go to bat for Alex more than others, and this episode irritated me because I felt at points she was just being written too uncharacteristically. Another plotline that irritated me was the one where Ashley gets insecure after being outshone by Jimmy at her talent show.
What's wrong with being someone else? No shame and living life that way.
They're like, please tell us your reality, Jay. We can't fathom how I feel to be forever confined. But mother always told me what to do with my best foot. So
although I understand Ashley's feelings of being undervalued with her music, I hate the fact that she gets angry to the point where she just sends her demo without Jimmy's part on it because she was so jealous of him being recognized more than her. It just feels like we're still dealing with season 1 Ashley at this point.
tell me anything.
Stop, Jimmy, stop. It's something tonal. It's competing with the piano.
Okay, why don't you just tweak the levels?
Then it's not about the harmony. I need to figure it out. It doesn't sound the way it sounds in my head. I can fix it, just I think I have what I need.
At this point, it just feels like here again Ashley is supposed to be the bad guy. Her decision to do this feels like it doesn't have much weight, so his feelings of betrayal by her decision just doesn't hit me. It's also because Ashley hasn't really been focused on in any substantial way since season 1 and 2. She's clouded by jealousy and insecurity, which like I said makes sense, but nothing more is done with this insecurity because Ashley isn't the main character anymore.
When Craig's album came out, I realized that I put aside my music for him. I just needed to take the next step on my own.
They didn't want you without my rap.
I wasn't trying to hurt you. I had so many disappointments.
Yeah, and you're the biggest.
So her perspective is more limited than it would be in the earlier seasons. Again, Ashley was never really explored that deeply, but you can't say that she didn't have plot lines that focused on different sides of her character. There was a spring break special during season 7, and there was a plot line I felt mixed about putting here, but ultimately I decided to do that because although the character tries to right a wrong, I still don't really like what they did in the first place, and it's something I can't really forgive. Despite how you feel about Jay and Manny, this plotline just frustrates me, and that is because of course Jay, after finding out that Manny plans to end things with him, sabotages her by switching her audition tape with a tape of them making out. And even though Jay feels bad for what he did and goes to great lengths to make things right, he still did something to break her trust, something that was vindictive because he was angry, and he didn't even consider what this would do for her future. I understand what the writers are trying to do by having Jay realize what he did was wrong and make it right. He also didn't consider why she might have wanted to end things. It was just an incredibly selfish thing to do that feels really controlling. And if I were Manny, I don't know if I would have gotten back together with him or have been able to get past something like this, knowing how important it was to me, and he completely invalidated that because he cared more about his own pleasure. I think the development between Jay and Manny is a mess, even though they have extremely good chemistry. After this huge hurdle, things seem to be going better until Jay lies to Manny about his parents. When she finds out that he lied, he actually does become vulnerable and tell her the truth about his mother and father, which is another good step for his character and their relationship. However, things get worse when Jay, who we've already seen some development this season, ends up stealing his mother's ring back from a pawn shop after Manny sold it for plane tickets. Even though I don't mind Jay considering doing this, because it is realistic and something that he would think about, they should have made him ultimately not do it and return the ring, showing that even though he's flawed, his sense of rationality is changing. However, that's not what happens, and Jay just feels more in the right for what he did, and he doesn't really even acknowledge what he did was wrong.
A broken window doesn't lie, unlike you. Again, again, and again.
Can't steal what's yours. I am the same criminal that you fell in love with.
You're hopeless.
You're a bitch. It was fun while it lasted, Dimples.
It's his fault because he lied to Manny from the beginning too. Jay is a flawed character, and that's not a bad thing, but especially when we've seen their relationship put to the test this season multiple times, it does feel like at this point he can't just keep getting chances when he makes mistakes, especially when they're mistakes like this. Just because he's had a horrible childhood and hard upbringing, it doesn't justify these actions. It's unfortunate that Jay's development was fumbled like this because I was somewhat impressed with the steps of progression, and maybe that was mostly motivated by the fact that he was with Manny, and the writers saw that her character brought out a different side to Jay. After Manny breaks up with him, we don't see any more introspection on Jay's part, because Jay is a character that isn't allowed to be fully explored without another character, like Manny or Spinner or Shawn. That's one of the biggest disappointments to the Jay and Manny storyline, because we don't get to see Jay improve himself while they're broken up, so I can at least feel like he's sincere about taking the next step and truly changing his ways, but the progression of his character is only half there, and because of that it makes me feel so mixed about this entire plotline. After Ellie cheated on Jesse and he ended up cheating on her, they end up getting back together at the end of season 6 with no hope from anyone that the relationship would end up working out. Jesse is someone that doesn't want to commit but wants someone that will always be there for him when he wants, and as an older college student he takes advantage of Ellie, who's a freshman still trying to navigate the college world, and she has this guy wasting her time, and it's clear his feelings aren't deep for her. Things get worse when Ellie catches Jesse cheating on her again with Caitlyn of all people. Again, an old character just being brought back for conflict like this. It's especially irritating that Caitlyn was brought back in this way when I just feel like she understands the boundaries and wouldn't be crossing that with someone she's associating with on a professional level, especially with a guy that's over 10 years younger than her. It just feels like the show wants to ruin my opinion of her even more. I'm not saying that Caitlyn is horrible for having a one-night stand, but she knew that Jesse was was involved in the current project she was working on, and it's just irresponsible for her to do that. I still can't understand why the writers went out of their way to bring Caitlyn back for this anyway. I guess they did it for shock value, because we wouldn't be expecting Caitlyn to be caught up in this. I just wish that they brought Caitlyn back to be a further mentor for Ellie, and not used for this type of conflict. Ellie even considers getting back with him after this, and then blames Caitlyn in front of everyone.
No. Why'd you hook up with Jesse? And how was it, Jesse? Was it worth it?
Slut.
Just making herself look unprofessional. I've already talked about Ellie's character being degraded because of these storylines. It was clear to me that the show didn't know what to do with Liberty's character after she gave her baby up for adoption. She, like other characters, become less involved. They just get less storylines, and usually the plot lines that these characters get are either not interesting or they just ruin their character in some way. But to keep it short, the real main reason I don't like this plotline is because it just really feels out of character for Liberty, in my opinion. I don't like how quickly it's resolved. Damien is just the bad guy because we need a bad guy for some reason. Season 8 doesn't have the best reputation or plot lines, but I don't think it's as bad of a season as I remember it to be. There are some plot lines that frustrate me, but overall I found myself not having too much to complain about like other seasons. One plotline that I've talked about but still dislike nonetheless is one involving Leia, a character that isn't explored at all. When we have a plotline that tries to expand on her, it still annoys me somehow, and for one reason specifically, when Leia is afraid to hang out with Danny's friends, she makes up a lie saying that Sav was flirting with her.
Lately, Sav's been coming on to me.
Coming onto you? What?
Obviously, he's hung up on Anya. He's just flirty and stuff. Makes me uncomfortable.
Which just really irritated me because it just comes out of nowhere and makes no sense to me. She knows that Sav is Danny's friend. I just don't understand why she would make something up like that. I understand feeling insecure, but accusing his friend of that is just really odd. She then lies about her father being a music producer who knows Fall Out Boy, and even takes Sav and all of his friends to the concert knowing that she wouldn't be able to get them in.
I know you've been hitting on her.
Come on, dude. Did she tell you that? Can't believe she dragged us all the way down here. We're going to my place to watch Lost. You're invited. No liar, Leia.
Things are also just resolved with Leia acknowledging that she shouldn't have lied, but if I were Danny, I'd be pretty upset that she accused my friend of flirting with her when he didn't. It's like, what else will she lie to him about? We also don't get much else on Leia and her fears of being accepted by others or something, because then it would at least make sense why she feels the need to compulsively lie, which could be an interesting character flaw that's explored, but it just isn't. The plot is really there just to fill time. I can't get too mad about it. It's not like Leia was really that important of a character, but I was aggravated that that Sav comment was just brushed off. I'm not as huge of a fan of the Degrassi Goes Hollywood movie. 3 characters are brought back after a season, which is interesting to see where they are after some time, but I'm mixed because Ellie's plotline, although really interesting with how she struggles to cope with her father having PTSD, the plot is also overshadowed by Craig, and we're just back to square one again. Ellie gets the idea that Craig has feelings for her, which he clearly does, but he doesn't tell her that he has a girlfriend. Again, a perfect opportunity to explore Craig and maybe why he's afraid to admit his feelings for Ellie, but the plotline is left off very ambiguously. If the writers were going to commit to this plotline, I just wish Craig's feelings were explored more instead of it coming off like he's just an asshole that leads Ellie on. I also don't like Paige's plotline either. I just feel so disconnected with her journey once she graduates high school, and it's not because I'm not interested, but I feel like anything interesting that is set up for her character, they just don't really follow through with it. We started seeing some of her work life and how she was undervalued, and that was kind of interesting.
When you walked out, we had to move on. It was so totally unprofessional, but I've learned that no matter what I have to do at this job, it's completely worth it.
The next time you leave me alone will be your last.
I need you, Paige.
But when Degrassi Goes Hollywood starts, she's just working for this other woman that treats her poorly. After Paige ends up getting the role in Jason Mewes' new movie, she starts becoming more self-centered.
I like my line better. I know Trixie. I know the way she thinks, the way she talks. You're a first-time writer-director. What do you know?
All right, if you're not gonna do it my way, then get off of my set!
Fine. Don't worry about apologizing. You were totally forgiven. It was very rude, but I'm over it. Is this a plan to repair your damaged ego?
I came here to get Trixie's tiara back.
Ow! You can't fire me. I'm the star.
You were barely a star. You're more like Circle.
Well, the studio loves me.
And doesn't even care about what's going on with Ellie.
Ellie's hurting.
I'll talk to her tomorrow. This is my first red carpet. I want to enjoy it.
She's just obsessed with becoming more famous.
I need something to get my face out there today. This is my last chance.
to the point where she even considers revealing herself to the paparazzi. When Marco tries to talk some sense into her, she slaps him.
If you had the guts to actually do something with your own life instead of just whining and judging everyone else.
You are still the same insecure little girl that you've always been.
Then he gets so angry with her to the point where the movie is left on this ambiguous note about their friendship. It just feels like after focusing so much on Paige and watching her become more responsible, all of that character development to be just reverted for a plotline like this. I just wasn't a fan of how they left things off. There was also a plotline about Emma that kind of gave me secondhand embarrassment at points.
9.5.
And avocado. You are the funniest.
When she wants to be more noticed at school, Emma ends up stealing a joint from her boyfriend to smoke pot with some random girls. The way they act is just so funny, especially if you've ever smoked pot before.
I don't think it's working for me. No, maybe I didn't smoke enough. Oh, did I just say that out loud? Oh my gosh, am I talking like so loud?
On top of that, although I know what they were trying to do, I just don't really feel like anything was accomplished with this episode. The plotline felt more like a subplot than a main plot. I was more interested in the plotline with KC, if I'm being honest, because they were at least giving more insight into his character and his past experiences. But here it's just Emma trying to be cool until her decisions lead to a girl needing to be rushed to the hospital, and then her boyfriend gets kicked out of the dorm when he's caught with the weed. Nothing really feels learned from Emma's end either. I don't really know what I'm supposed to get from the plotline. I guess don't smoke weed. I think there's a more interesting thing they could have done to get that point across. It feels like a plotline written from someone's perception of college students that smoke weed. Of course, in a more negative light, like the weed made her act irresponsibly and there's something that needs to be said about smoking too much or something.
Check for medic alert bracelets. Becca was in a diabetic coma that could have been avoided. Her mom says she hasn't had an insulin problem in years. The culprit was marijuana brownies. If she hadn't ingested them, she never would have forgotten her insulin.
If we weren't stoned, it wouldn't have happened.
But weed smoking is a lot more accepted now. I think it's different when you depict high school students smoking weed to college students, where it's okay to be a little bit more free in college, and some students just smoke. That's the way it is. I would be interested to see what Degrassi would be like if they had a more progressive view on smoking, that also maybe balanced it out with a message about the dangers of it. I wouldn't say that I despise Sav and Anya, but I'll say that I was always annoyed by their relationship. It always comes back to the same issues with them. Sav's parents are traditional and want him to marry within his culture, and he's afraid to tell them that he's dating Anya. One of the plot lines that starts the pattern of Anya and Sav breaking up and getting back together is when Sav finds out that Johnny and Allie were in a tent alone, and he ends up scolding her for that. Anya compares herself to that type of girl that Sav was comparing Allie to, and then she breaks up with him. I just hate the back and forth so much to the point where they just feel like a parody of the couple that gets back together and breaks up all the time. Sav will do something to piss off Anya, she breaks up with him, then she forgives him and the cycle repeats. When they go to the dance together and Sav ends up bringing Farrah along, his potential future bride, Anya gets insecure when Farrah says something to her in the bathroom.
Right now, he's just being a good guy, keeping you happy, but someday soon, you'll be history. But Sav wants to be with me. He has plenty of time to change his mind. What makes you so sure? I just am, and there's nothing you can do about it.
After this, Anya takes Sav and they have sex in the limo that they arrived in. Anya lies about being on the pill and they didn't use a condom. After telling him the truth, she then takes the pill. But now it's Sav's turn to be pissed and end the relationship. It's probably for the best since Sav doesn't have it in him to stand up for their relationship. He's also still living under his parents' roof. They're traditional. It makes sense that he'd be scared, but to keep putting Anya through it, breaking up is probably the best decision for them both. I've already talked about Allie and Johnny and the problems I have with their relationship, but things get even worse in season 9 for them. Even though it's clear that Johnny does care for Allie, she is still too young for him, and the way he seems to be the one in control in the relationship just makes me feel a little weird. Allie isn't allowed to tell anyone about them. They can't hold hands or act like a couple in public. He acts like he doesn't even know her when they're in public. It's just not a healthy foundation for a relationship.
Oh, hold on a sec.
Easy, woman. I told you, not in front of my friends. Those are the rules.
I told you we should keep this quiet.
I just want to prove to her that I have an awesome boyfriend.
No, you don't.
Especially when Allie is so young and inexperienced. She even feels pressured to have sex with him when she wants to prove her maturity to him. When Allie takes pictures of Johnny with some stuffed animals, she gets the idea to show them off to everyone because she wants to show people how nice Johnny is. He's clearly not a fan of this, and then he sends the images that she sent of herself naked to Bruce.
I'm stupid. You're the one sending naked photos of yourself to this loser. Maybe I should show the Allie I see to my friend.
God, Johnny, you can't.
Everyone saw my picture. Seems only fair. Bruce is gonna love this.
Give it to me. Give it.
Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it.
Which is just seriously one of the scummiest things to do. Later, he blackmails her with the phone that has all the pictures on it.
That's it, huh? What phone?
Don't be dumb.
Hotso searched my locker and my bag. She couldn't find it. It's gone. Let me tell you my 2 things. 1, I told you the rules, so if anyone acted dumb, it was you. And 2, if we're really broken up, I'm gonna need something to remember you by.
Johnny, there are photos of me without my clothes on.
And I promise I'll keep them to myself. Unlike you, I can keep a promise.
And he uses this as a way for Allie to be able to still have a reason to talk to him.
If I give it back, you'll have no reason to come talk to me.
Right, that's the point.
He also reveals that he lied to her when he said that he was a virgin.
I said it to make you feel better.
Who was she?
More than just one.
But then he had an STI, and he admits he might have given it to Allie. She tries to get back at him by revealing to the whole school what he did, but he admits that he still has feelings for her, and it's just a whole mess.
Your friend Allie is the only girl I want.
Allie, he loves you!
Allie? Did you put her up to this?
What? I didn't know you were gonna say that.
It just gets worse the longer that these characters date. I've talked a lot more about Johnny and Allie in my age gaps video, so go check that out if you haven't seen it. Season 8 introduced Blue, one of the most forgettable characters in Degrassi history. He was a love interest for Holly J. Once they get together at the end of Season 8, the writers get bored immediately with Blue, so what can they do to make Holly J get annoyed enough with Blue to get rid of him? He starts making decisions for her left and right.
You can do this. Well, I guess now I'm going to have to.
Okay, I was thinking we need a toga day next week.
Don't worry, she'll make it happen.
Even after she voices how much she has to do for everyone.
Hey, so when exactly is toga day? Monday, Wednesday?
Not now, Daryl, okay? There's this really weird smell coming from the girls' bathroom. Is the sun too bright? Your allowance too small? Hey, why don't I just do something about global warming while I'm at it?
Sorry, she'll get on that. Really having trouble prioritizing, huh?
I know exactly what my priority is right now. This taco. Got it?
He also has to annoyingly comment about everything, and doesn't seem to see how overwhelmed Holly J is. She eventually gets so frustrated that she blows up at him.
You are not student council president, and I didn't become president so that I could make friends and have people love me. I did it so that I could do things my way. So just leave me alone.
He honestly kind of deserves it. And then he comes up to her later thinking she owes him an apology.
You had a hard night. I still believe you can change. You're ready to apologize, I'm ready to listen.
Blue, I have lots of sides. You can't just pick the ones you like. You want to turn me into someone that I'm not.
Bye, Holly.
Holly freaking J.
After that, she just had it and breaks up with him in the funniest way possible. Again, this plotline falls into that category of the writers finding a ridiculous reason to break up 2 characters after they just spent time developing their relationship. We've seen this before, and I find this one even funnier because this character, Blue, is credited as a main character for Season 8. To not have any storylines and then gets dropped when the writers realize they had nothing they could do with him. From the little bit of a character that we did see of Blue, something feels off about the way he's depicted in this episode. When you have a character that has so little personality and really doesn't leave an impact, it's easy to mold them into whatever you want them to be instead of being consistent. It feels like they're writing him to be extra annoying and overbearing so Holly J has an excuse to break up with him, which it's clear that's what they're doing. I don't know, the way he interacts with Holly J in this episode, he kind of feels like a different person from how he did interact with her before. I could already tell that Jane and Spinner were having problems in Season 8 when Spinner felt like he couldn't communicate his insecurities with Jane, but Season 9 just makes things worse when new student Declan takes an interest in Jane, and this eventually leads to them starting a relationship while she's still seeing Spinner. The show does kind of set this up where Jane definitely seemed to want more from her relationship, and you could see her start to feel complacent in the relationship with Spinner. But what I hated the most about this was the way Jane calls things off with Declan after Holly J finds out about them. Holly J also started crushing on Declan, so of course she'd be pissed off with this. The fact that Jane is cheating on Spinner, especially someone that she was interested in. However, once Jane ends things, she keeps it from Spinner, and Holly J also agrees to that, which wasn't a good decision in the long run. This eventually leads into one of the plot lines from Degrassi Takes Manhattan, where Spinner ends up hearing them talking about it, and then he breaks up with Jane.
I heard you in there talking about Declan. How long did you guys?
2 weeks. It was months ago, and that's what I'm trying to say. It's over.
Oh, shut up! You knew about this!
Who ends up going to New York for the summer. During this time, Spinner connects with Emma after she accidentally burns down the dot, and this escalates to them getting drunkenly married, and then agree to stay married even though they barely had any time to really get to know each other on that level. Like I said before, I was never against Spinner and Emma like others. I just don't feel like it naturally develops. They get married so suddenly without really knowing each other. Everything is happening really fast, because it feels like the writers want to make sure that these characters end with a satisfying conclusion. But because I didn't really get to see the build-up, it just feels rushed. As the wedding nears, Emma worries that Spinner doesn't want to get married and then gets hurt when she thinks that he's having second thoughts.
We don't have to make this big public announcement tomorrow.
No.
What's the rush, right?
I'll see you later.
Okay. Bye. He said it might not work out, as in eventually we'll just get divorced.
But shouldn't she also be thinking this over too? She doesn't really know what she wants to do, she's rushing into this decision, and it really just feels like it's all moving really fast, to the point where I can't even get invested. It's unfortunate because I definitely think there's something there, I just think they didn't have the time to flesh it out. The Jane plotline also sucks. After breaking up with Spinner, she has this fling with this guy to get her mind off of him, and she joins his band, only for her to find out that he's going to let his girlfriend back into the band. Then she finds out about Spinner getting married and races back to stop him, only to realize that she has to let him go because she sees how happy he is with Emma. I just hate this. Jane, a character that showed a lot of potential in season 8, kind of fell off as a character for me in season 9, to the point where I didn't even care about how her story ended. It felt like they didn't know what to do for her character in this, so her plotline is just more filler than anything else. At least the other plotlines during Degrassi Takes Manhattan add something in terms of plot or character, even if I didn't personally like how it was handled. I didn't expect it to feel so empty though. I know they were trying to leave off on this note where she doesn't know what she's going to do with her future. I guess there's something hopeful about that idea, but after all season of Jane's plotline really not being great, they kind of leave Jane's character on a sour note. It's just unfortunate that Jane and Spinner end this way. I mean, it's completely her fault, and maybe the relationship wouldn't have lasted. I mean, in the end, she's facing the consequences of her actions. I just wish that these characters had a better send-off, especially the ones that we followed for nearly a decade. I know some of you guys are probably gonna get mad, but I've already said how I don't really like Holly J and Declan. There are a few reasons for this. The way Declan pursues Holly J just doesn't really feel like he likes her, but he wants her because she challenges him.
And that's a girl worth fighting for.
He lies to her using the same phoned-in stories that he's used on other girls.
But when we lived in Thailand, I did meet the Dalai Lama.
Let me guess. I met the Dalai Lama when I was 8 years old. Next, he'll tell you he made lifelong friends with an elephant he rode. It's a tearjerker.
He goes out of his way to learn more about her just so he can show her that he knows things about her.
Step forward again if you love mushroom pizza. Step forward again if you want a public speaking competition. Step forward if you're afraid of spiders. Once more if you know all the words to Mamma Mia.
He locks her in a recording studio when she doesn't want to listen to anything that he has to say. The writers try to make me feel sympathetic for Declan because he's actually working for a girl's affection, and that's something that he should be rewarded for.
Let me out!
I thought you weren't talking to me anymore.
I'm still not talking to you, and I'm not gonna listen to your crap either way, so you better save us some time and just let me out.
Are you done? I don't normally try this hard, and I am terrified right now.
He feels possessive over Holly J. He's not a great influence on her either, choosing to start making out with her when she's waiting to be awarded for an internship. It feels like the writers wanted this epic romance plotline, but it just didn't come off that way to me. Declan comes off as creepy, possessive, and controlling. He doesn't seem like he's actually interested in Holly J, but interested in controlling the things that she wants. He doesn't really consider what she wants, and because of that fact, they're trying to convince me that this relationship is better than it is. I just get more irritated with this plotline that romanticizes what Declan does to get Holly J to like him. Another plotline I really didn't like was the subplot during Degrassi Takes Manhattan that focuses on Fiona feeling insecure by Holly J and Declan's relationship. This begins a rivalry between Holly J and Fiona.
Holly J, I put up with you at Degrassi, but you're in my city now.
Excuse me?
You don't fit in here, and I think it's time you went home.
Well, I wonder what my boyfriend would think about that.
Boyfriends are temporary. Brothers are forever.
Where Holly J ends up locking her in a room during an internship that they're both at.
This is New York, Holly J, bitch.
Well, Fiona is only there because she wants to be, not really because she needs the experience or something. After Declan arrives and Fiona puts on a big show as if she's the victim, Declan gets angry with Holly J because of this.
What did you do to my sister?
What did I do? Your sister's the one.
You locked her up. Is that how you get your way, Holly J? What the hell's wrong with you?
They eventually make up, and Fiona gets even more insecure, leading to her getting drunk and kissing Declan in front of the press.
His girlfriend, Fiona? If anything's gross, it's your jealousy, and frankly, it's a little bit inappropriate.
You want inappropriate? No, feel clean.
You two are pathetic.
Declan even gets fed up with Fiona's behavior and blows up. So why I don't really like this plotline, first it has to do with the fact that Fiona's jealousy leads to her kissing her own brother. That might have something to do with it. And the plot is resolved by sending Fiona away.
All our lives we've only had each other, but that has to change.
You're all I have, Declan.
I can't be Fiona. I'm scared that you're messed up, and I can't help you.
I was just trying to send Holly J a message.
I want you to be happy, but it's time to grow up and get your own life.
I know it's implied that Fiona is lonely and afraid of losing Declan. The way it is, Fiona just comes off as this obstacle for Declan and Holly J, instead of a character that has flaws to be explored, if that makes any sense. I already mentioned before that I hate plotlines where girls are just being petty with each other, which is also a reason I just don't like this plotline. Season 10 was definitely an improvement in a lot of ways, but it also has some plots that are pretty annoying. First, Drew cheating on Allie with Bianca. I've already talked to death about this plotline in other videos, but the biggest reason that I hate this is because the writers weren't even willing to give Allie and Drew a chance before introducing such a tired conflict. They really didn't even date that long before problems began. It just feels like a waste of time to have a plotline that actually somewhat explores Drew's insecurities around dating someone smart, but then they just backtrack by having Drew cheat on Allie, and then she forgives him for a minute before breaking up with him again, after realizing Drew didn't take any accountability for what he did. Then he goes on to date Bianca like right after this, so it makes it feel like he never really took Allie that seriously. The beginning of season 10 had Sav and Anya get back together briefly when Anya pretends that she's pregnant to take Sav down in an election. She's clearly still into Sav, so it doesn't take long for her to switch sides and turn on Holly J.
And then I'll tell everyone it was your idea and Sav knew nothing about it. You wouldn't dare. I need to protect my family. You don't have a family. If anybody finds that out, they'll be in big trouble. Sav didn't win the election because people think I'm pregnant. He won because you think you're better than everyone. That's not true. You people like me. Then why didn't they vote for you?
And she keeps pretending to be pregnant to help Sav. Like, are you serious, Anya? While making out on the couch, his mom walks in, and instead of defending their relationship, he pushes her off.
I need to know that it's going to be different this time.
Someone's home.
Oh,
quick. Here, back door.
You said it would be different this time.
Honey, come on, just...
We were making out. Sorry, Sav, no more lies. But don't worry, Mrs. Bandari. It will never happen again.
I just hated this more than anything because it doesn't go anywhere. I guess Anya needed to finally realize that Sav wasn't going to stand up for her.
We are bad for each other. Until you learn to stand up to your parents, that's never going to change.
Come on. I'm sorry.
Good luck, Mr. President.
But it just feels like we've gone through this so much at this point that the weight is just not felt after 2 seasons of this. Declan becomes worse in season 10 when he becomes more controlling of Holly J, and his determination to get her back after she ends things with him just makes him more creepy and calculating because of how he makes sure to get Sav out of the picture so he can have alone time with her, trying to convince her that he's changed when he hasn't even thought about the reason why she broke up with him in the first place. He then takes advantage of her when she stays behind after Fiona gets too drunk and forces himself on her. The show then decides that what they did was consensual. My theory is partly because he's Fiona's brother and they didn't want someone that close to her to do something that horrible because Fiona is also Holly J's friend, and that would be really hard for them to maintain a friendship after something like that. Declan never even comes back after this plotline, so why even leave it on this note? So Declan could have some hope that he and Holly J would get back together, and then this is used as a subplot later to make Holly J look like the bad guy when she admits the truth of what happened between her and Declan to Sav. He gets angry with her and breaks up with her. They get back together after talking it out, but it's just kind of meaningless since they break up not too long after that. And that context of Declan forcing himself on Holly J is missing, making her strictly out to be the villain, which I don't really like. There was another age gap relationship that I forgot to touch upon before, so I'll take the opportunity to do it now since it's also one of the worst plot lines this season. After Anya's mother gets diagnosed with cancer, Anya starts crushing on her doctor, and this doesn't stay a crush for too long because she pretends to be older so that she can go out with him later, and he even agrees to wait until she's 18, which is strange. This guy is 25, I should also mention, and a doctor, and is considering dating a teenager. And not only that, but his patient's daughter.
You know, Jay-Z is like 12 years older than Beyonce.
Beyonce's not 17.
In 2 months, I won't be either.
Your mom has to be on board.
Well, you did help save her life.
And he lets this teenager think that he's going to be with her.
Next year, I'll be off at TU dating my doctor, and you'll still be a total pig. I didn't apply anywhere else. I wanted to be close to home.
For your mom.
And for her dreamy doctor.
Even though he ends up breaking up with her on her 18th birthday.
We've been on one date. We barely know each other.
You were never serious about me.
You are a smart gal, beautiful.
He probably just thought that she'd get over him, but it's just weird to say that he'll wait. Throughout season 10, Eli develops a rivalry with bully Fitz. They keep getting back at each other, Fitz punching Eli in the balls or breaking a hood ornament on his car.
Destroy my car over a freaking parking spot. Oh, you want a tissue? Oops.
This plotline just keeps going and building to a point where Eli gets Fitz arrested. Fitz forces Claire to take him to the dance, then uses this to trigger Eli.
You hurt her? And you're what, tough guy? That's what I thought. But don't you worry. When we have sex, I'll be gentle.
Who later poisons Fitz. After this, Fitz pulls a knife on Eli and then gets arrested. I don't know, I just found myself annoyed with Eli and his obsession to get back at Fitz. This behavior could partly be because Eli is dealing with bipolar symptoms, which makes sense with the plans that he makes to get back at Fitz. And then when Fitz comes back, it's even more annoying. He says that he's found God, as if he's been brainwashed since the last time that we saw him, because not much time has passed, and he develops this obsession with Claire.
Me and you, we have a spiritual connection. Whoa, me and Claire have a special connection.
And I guess this plot could be a way to show that Eli is afraid of losing Claire. I just really hate the Fitz element of it for some reason. It's just, it really comes off as really forced to me. He feels like a completely different character altogether. I just think there was a way to convey Eli's insecurities without having to bring Fitz back. Later in season 10, there's a subplot that aggravates me to no end, and this involves Owen sexually harassing Anya.
Arm straighter, this.
I got it. Thanks.
Problem, just trying to help. Do you need more help?
I'm good.
You get money to be that dummy.
And feeling entitled to her sympathy when he gets kicked out of the class.
Overreact much? Why didn't you just say something?
Like you would have listened.
Right, so instead you run to the teacher. Am I supposed to be a lifeguard now? But did it ever occur to you that I wasn't trying to make you feel uncomfortable? I like you. You're a serious catch.
I don't like you like that. And I probably never will.
Probably.
Definitely.
Well, I'm sorry I made you feel bad.
After she convinces Armstrong to let Owen back into the class, he feels entitled to her as a person and thinks that she wants to go out with him.
Look, we have to exchange numbers. I just really want to thank you. Armstrong's let me back in CPR.
Water under the bridge.
What? You smell nice.
After what we just went through.
Come on, we're buds now, right? Can we...
No, Owen, leave me alone.
Jeez, take it easy. I thought you were over yourself. What's wrong with you? All these girls wish I'd flirt with them.
This boy thinks you want him to harass, grope, and flirt with you. Can I see a show of hands?
I just hate this plotline because it's the start of this relationship that I could never get on board with, because this is the foundation of it. Owen has a crush on Anya and doesn't accept that she doesn't want to be with him, and then makes her feel bad or like she's a bitch for not wanting to be with him. Although I do like Eli's journey and struggle with his bipolar disorder, I also think certain aspects of his storyline were definitely overplayed, obviously for drama, and in some cases because they focus on the theatrics, it can feel like his struggle loses its realism.
The hero, Malcolm, realizes he can never protect his hair when Rachel Frost Angel, so he has no choice but to cuts her throat, drinks her blood, and forever they are one. This is all your fault! Claire hates me because of you. You ruined my life. Growing apart? Any other melodramatic cliches you want to throw my way?
We're not meant to be together.
We are. I just have to get rid of Morty. I just don't know why you're so upset. He'll be out of the picture soon enough.
Wait, out of the picture? What is that supposed to mean?
Oh, Claire, you're always so curious.
Compared to how Craig's struggle was handled in season 4, it didn't feel nearly as played up for drama. Obviously it was to a certain extent because it is a drama, but things felt a little bit more grounded. Like I said, it's not everything that I hate about how it's handled, but certain parts I do. After Fitz returns, we see Eli becoming more attached to Claire and worried that he's going to lose her, and things get worse when she brings up that she wants space. You definitely feel the tension between them and things are different.
Claire, middle of the road efforts.
I like it. It's happy, like springtime.
Okay, sorry.
Claire is starting to notice that Eli is becoming too clingy and obsessive, and as an attempt to get her attention, he crashes his hearse into a wall, injuring himself in the process, and then Claire realizes what he was doing. Season 11, I think, is overall a step down from season 10. There's a few glaring plot lines that I want to discuss. First, let's continue with the disaster of Anya and Owen. After her doctor boyfriend breaks up with her, Anya is heartbroken, and all of this during her 18th birthday. She's vulnerable, feeling worthless, not having a concrete plan for her future, and here comes Owen to take advantage of her. After making a sexist comment,
Then leave.
That would seriously decrease my chances of hooking up with you.
You are such a pig.
I'm not the pig making you cry.
he tries to make her feel better, and feeling just the absolute worst about herself, she eventually has sex with him, and then he makes a post hinting at a girl he hooked up with at the party, trying to get her attention, I guess. I don't know how he thinks this is a good way of getting a girl's attention. He gets upset when she expresses regret for having sex with him like that.
Morning, sweetheart. One day, and I'll delete it.
No way in hell. I already made the hugest mistake of my life.
You just really? You're not too good for me, Anya.
And he can't even understand why that might be the case. He starts saw her crying the night before, so I don't really know how he didn't come to the conclusion that something was wrong. I guess it's all okay in the end because he was upset that she wasn't into him. He outed a sexual experience between the two, and yet he's in the right because he was just trying to get her attention. I just can't get over that.
You did all the posts. It wasn't my fault. I knew how to send a private message. I was never gonna out us. I just wanted to get your attention. You completely blew me off. And it kind of sucks knowing the girl you're super into is embarrassed to be with you. I'm sorry any of this had to happen.
Their relationship doesn't have a good foundation, and things just get worse as it goes on.
Run along, call Holly J.
Oh, we don't need boys dragging us down.
Screw that, man. She's giving you false hope about this university stuff.
You think I'm gonna screw this up?
If you keep listening to Holly J and being her lapdog, absolutely.
I'm not anybody's dog.
Sure about that?
I don't know, I just don't like Owen's behavior. How it gets rewarded, I don't like that. I'd rather them pair Anya with no one than with Owen. It's unfortunate because there's one plotline where you do actually see a kinder side of Owen when he helps her train, but other than that, almost every interaction between them frustrates me. Claire breaks up with Eli, and this leads into season 11 in the continuing conflict between them, especially because both of them now have new love interests. Eli ends up in this weird relationship with Imogen, someone that's been stalking him for a while.
Have you been stalking me?
No, I'm just a keen observer of human behavior.
You need to back off.
Deep breaths. Don't let the crazy get the best of you. That's what Claire wants.
Claire gets involved with new student Jake, who she has some familiarity with, and at the beginning Claire is unwilling to accept that Eli might be over her, and makes a fool of herself.
Did you flip a switch and erase me from your memory? It took you a year! A year to get over your ex! Did you ever love me at all?
I also just don't like the whole love square aspect of this, and it gets pretty annoying.
Didn't see you two lovebirds. Awkward.
What a coincidence, huh, Imogen?
Just trying to break the ice. Go sit down, okay, Muffin?
Stop calling me that.
The real Claire Edwards would never do what you just did.
The real Claire Edwards would do anything to get what she wants.
And a little creepy at points.
I did everything to make you happy. I'm still in love with you, and I hate myself for it.
Never loved you. You're a loser.
You used me and you tossed me away. I hate you.
Excellent. Now go use that emotion and write yourself a play.
I also wasn't a huge fan of Jake and Claire as a pairing, especially after Claire's mother and Jake's father get together. Once the whole step-siblings thing was added to the conflict, that's where I started checking out.
All summer, I convinced myself that we were over. I dealt with things. Maybe you should have it instead of running up to a cabin to romanticize about something that is so over.
Especially because you just know this relationship has nowhere to go. When Claire wants to get more serious with Jake,
Think of our first time together and describe it to me.
It would be with you, obviously. I think it'd be great if it was in a bed.
And emotionally, how do you want to feel?
Satisfied?
Satisfied.
These questions are stupid.
How else am I supposed to figure out if I'm ready for sex?
I don't know, you just feel it.
Then I guess I don't, and it was a mistake thinking I did.
it starts to freak him out.
This is it. Once in a lifetime moment. Something we can never take back. And I am so happy it's with you. Someone I love, who loves me, who I could be with forever.
I'm sorry, Claire, I can't do this.
They end up breaking up anyway, so it doesn't really go on too long. It just feels like it's wasting time because they already know that they can't have two step-siblings just be in a relationship on the show. Another plotline I felt iffy about, even when I was first watching it, was Fiona and her love interest for the first half of season 11, who is an older woman that ends up having all of these problems, and Fiona does what she can to help her. This woman is also aware that Fiona is in high school and continues to keep a relationship with her. It just makes me feel uncomfortable how Fiona, this high schooler, is doing so much for this woman she hasn't even known that long, allowing her to live with her, and the show completely romanticizes the relationship as if Fiona and Charlie are on equal ground, when Fiona is younger and less experienced and also hasn't been with a girl up until this point. Even though Charlie does end it with Fiona, she still knows that she's in high school when she continues to engage in an intimate relationship with her. The show almost implies that something might come from this relationship when Charlie is an adult in a different place than Fiona is currently, even though nothing does happen. I just find this plotline so weird, and I just start to notice how Degrassi is starting to normalize these relationships. And it's not only just normalizing them, it feels like they're not even condemning some of these relationships at any point, and that's where we get to the next plotline that I'm going to talk about, which is Sav and Miss O, another extremely inappropriate relationship with a teacher and a student. It's actually taken seriously as if we're supposed to just shut our brains off and forget that Sav is still in high school. Winifred O, a teacher at Degrassi for about a season and a half now, suddenly shows an interest in Sav, a senior, and at first it's treated like Sav has a crush on Winnie and that's it, but after meeting at a concert she invites her student to sit with her and her friends.
Is the guy that wrote that song for me. Miss O, we're not in school, call me Winnie. Are you alone, want to watch with us?
Yeah, sure, Winnie.
Yeah, not inappropriate at all. Things get worse when Winnie actually reciprocates feelings for Sav. She writes a song for him about these feelings that she has to keep hidden.
She'll find someone right. He walks through the door. She knows she must ignore tingling in her heart. She cannot start.
And even enters somewhat of a relationship with him. After rumors go around that Winnie is engaging in a relationship with a student, she gets in trouble until Sav comes in and saves the day, taking the blame, and she just lets him.
I started the rumor. Some guys were teasing me about being unlucky in love. I told them that Miss O and I were an item.
I hope this is the last of it, Sav. You're a great guy, Sav.
Imagine if this happened between Paige and Matt, where he just let her take the blame. And the reason it's positioned this way is because Winnie is a woman in the position of authority and not a man. When the woman is in the position of predator, notice how she is still in the position of being rescued by the man.
So the way your class was mocking you, I had to say something.
Sav, I don't need you to stick up for me. I'm a big girl. This is all my fault. I'm sorry if I led you on.
One clearly has less power or agency, and she just allows this. The show romanticizes this as if Sav did something good when he was manipulated by his teacher, essentially. Their relationship ends with her kissing him goodbye, as if the show is saying that other than the fact that they're teacher and student, their relationship would be fine. It's one of the more sinister relationships on the show because Degrassi specifically is about showing situations that are realistic and educational. So it's just odd to me that the teacher doesn't get condemned at all, even if it's not a direct punishment, something to indicate that what she did was wrong. She doesn't lose her job. The show moves on as if this never even happened. I just don't really know how we got to this point. Another plotline I always thought was completely unnecessary was Allie kissing Jake.
Jake? Allie.
But I just feel it makes Claire look worse in the long run by forgiving Jake. I know that it was used to entice viewers to watch their horror special, but getting mad at Allie and even shutting her out because of this. Obviously Allie shouldn't have done it, but Claire doesn't even consider that Allie might not have been in the right frame of mind.
What do you think I should do?
About what?
The Palestine-Israel conflict.
Look, on the bright side, at least your mom isn't marrying his dad. Bigger problems right here.
I'm sorry, my problems are so insignificant, Claire.
Compared to my lifelong family-altering nightmare, you're complaining about a lack of text. I think you'll live. Pedestrian drama. It's a good thing, trust me.
She doesn't even take the time to talk to Allie, but gives the time to talk to Jake.
I'm so sorry, Claire. I had no right. But you have no idea what I went through after I left you at the wedding.
What horrible thing could have happened to make you do what you did?
You think my problems are pedestrian?
Find someone else to ride with. We're full.
Hey, long way to bike back home. Want to ride with us?
The show also seems to be aware of the fact that Claire was being unreasonable because she basically says this when she's trying to get Allie to help her with the school newspaper.
I was mad at you for kissing Jake, but I was a hypocrite. I blamed you and I let Jake off the hook. It wasn't fair.
But you were so self-obsessed, you never realized your best friend needed you. And now the only reason you're even apologizing is because you need help with the newspaper.
What annoys me too is that Claire didn't go to Allie before, and it just feels like her apology isn't genuine. It just feels like she needs her, so she's apologizing. It also feels like the writers couldn't really think of a way to have them make up, so they just decided to do it here. I don't hate every aspect of the Vince plotline during this season, but there is an aspect to the plotline that kind of annoys me, and it's toward the end of season 11, when Vince decides to shoot up the prom. It just makes him look like the biggest idiot to do something like this that would criminalize him. When the entire season he was staying under the radar, he comes to prom all for Bianca, and because Drew just got under his skin so much. I don't know, I just think someone who has a history in prison would think more carefully before doing something this reckless. It was really just here so Drew could have his big triumphant moment, being able to take Vince down after being afraid of him all season. I just didn't like the way this plotline went out, just so we could make a big spectacle at prom. I'll never get over the fact that Marisol outed her friend's eating disorder because Katie was dating the guy that already rejected her, by the way. Marisol doesn't even care how this would affect her friend, and all for this guy that she doesn't even really know. I think that's enough said, let's just move on. After Jake and Claire break up, she's not taking it well, and starts getting pissed off whenever he's around.
Don't change your plans because of me.
You sure?
Yeah, it's fine.
Care to join us?
I would not.
It gets even worse when she finds out that he's seeing Jenna.
I just wanted to congratulate you for waiting a whole 5 minutes after Jake and I broke up before swooping in there.
But whatever Jake does is none of your business.
Well, if not you, then who? Jenna and Jake. Jenna!
We're just friends, Claire.
You have to be freaking kidding me!
On top of this, her mother doesn't really seem to care that she's going through a hard time.
He's my husband.
I'm your daughter!
I know you're struggling, but we're in a better place, aren't we?
We need to talk about this, Mom.
I wish I could help, but I don't know what it is I'm supposed to do.
Even though it was obvious that Claire and Jake needed to break up, her mother should still consider that she did go through a breakup and be a little bit more sensitive about that. She acts even more annoying at Jake's birthday dinner when Jenna is invited.
I actually had a baby earlier this year.
Oh, no idea.
Most of the time, I just feel like people are judging me. Probably because they are. You're such a hypocrite.
Watch how you speak to your mother in our house.
Our house? You just got here.
Maybe you should go to your room.
You don't get to tell me where to go, Glenn. You are not my father.
Maybe it'll give you a little time to cool down.
You stock up on condoms, Jake. This one's fertile.
I want to feel for Claire here, but there's something about this plotline that just annoys me more than anything else. She tries moving in with her father, who doesn't really want anything to do with her. When that doesn't work out, she moves in with this strange woman she met. She notices that they have some weird rules, and things seem a little off.
We do have a no cell phone policy here at the house.
It's a leash to your old life, the one you left behind. The day that I threw my cell phone away, it was like getting out of jail.
Maybe I just have to try harder to fit in.
Try and try and try again. Keep the negative energy around you.
But I'm gonna feel so sad if that's what you choose for your life.
Later, she finds out that they're growing weed and using the kids they take in for labor. The police end up busting in and arresting them. There are other reasons that I can see that would make Claire want to leave. Both of her parents don't seem to acknowledge her. She's living with the guy that she used to date and doesn't even have a friend to talk to about it. At least her and Jake are able to end things on better terms. But nothing else is really addressed after this. Like, we don't really get to see anything else with her father, and her relationship with her mother is basically the same. I don't know, I just really didn't like this plot line. I talked about how ridiculous it was that Jenna started liking Sav, and this was mostly because the writers wanted Casey to notice Jenna's interest in Sav, so that he would want to get back together with her. We didn't focus on Casey's perspective after they broke up, showing how guilty he felt, maybe talking to his mom about it, and because he's jealous, he decides to step up and be involved with the pregnancy. Fast forward to season 11, where Casey is already tired of being a father because he's a teenager and because he really forced himself to do this. He starts cheating on Jenna with Marisol. Things escalate and get worse when Jenna starts losing her mind, being isolated from everyone. Things are more dysfunctional at home. The baby falls off the changing table after Jenna takes her eyes off him to write music. And since neither of them wanted to or were ready to be a parent to begin with, we see how unhealthy of an environment it really is for the baby.
I'm at home, depressed, missing my life, while you run around with Marisol? Music is my life, and I've even had to give that up.
Like you managed to get back to it long enough for Ty to fall off the change tape. God forbid you put your guitar down for 2 seconds.
It's child services.
I can't say that I'm surprised at all that they couldn't really think of anything else to do for KC, but I think back to season 8 and the version of KC there and wonder how we got to this point. Once he broke up with Claire, it really seems like his character became less interesting. We went from plot lines with Coach Carson to this. Even if you're not a huge fan of KC, you can't argue that there wasn't more of an attempt at characterization. Slowly he becomes more unlikable, so when he does actually get a plot line that's more interesting and centers around his father resurfacing, I just don't feel invested in his character anymore, especially because you can see that his character was getting phased out after season 11. After Dave and Allie take a break from their relationship, it doesn't take long for Dave to have sex with another girl. I don't like that Dave, who was shown to like Allie for so long, is easily able to have sex with someone else. It's not like they show his perspective either, so we can at least see how it led to him making this decision. I'm not saying that it would have changed my mind on Dave at all, but I just wish we got to see more of what led to him actually cheating on Allie. If we saw him worrying about what she might be getting up to, it wouldn't feel so forced of a conflict that way. I just couldn't get back on board with this relationship after this. Allie ends up forgiving Dave, and the girl he cheated on ends up showing up to cause trouble. She's unwilling to let Dave go, and it's pretty annoying. And this eventually leads to her taking Dave's phone so she can pretend to be him and text Allie to break up with her. While not paying attention, she gets hit by a car. I would get angrier with this plotline, but we do see some exploration of Dave's guilt, realizing how badly he treated Jacinta, but it's definitely another drag to the season in my opinion overall. Season 12 is a lot better than season 11. There weren't that many plotlines that I could consider being the worst. If it's a love triangle, I just don't have much hope, no matter what it is. The season starts off continuing the Drew, Bianca, Katie love triangle. Bianca wants Drew to break up with Katie, but he has a hard time doing it. When he finally does break up with her, Katie can't really accept it. it, and goes over to Drew's house during a huge party, and while he's drunk she has sex with him. With Drew being so intoxicated, some have argued that Katie took advantage of Drew, which it seems like it to a certain degree. Even though she was desperate to keep him, it does leave a sour taste in your mouth when you consider how drunk Drew actually was. Bianca also annoys me when she loses patience with Katie, who doesn't even know that she kissed Drew.
Either Katie's taking this breakup super well, or it didn't happen.
It happened, right? But it kind of reversed. She thinks we're back together.
Okay, that makes no sense. If you don't want to break up with her, just tell me.
You know that's not true.
Then do I have to do it for you? Right now?
No, please, you can't. All right? This is a delicate matter. Pretend we're not together.
Next time, I'm not going to be pretending. Don't burn yourself.
Once Katie finds out, she eggs Bianca's car.
Aw, looks like someone did a real number on your car, B. Too bad.
Yeah. Did you know there's starving children in Africa, you dumb bitch?
Well, maybe you'll think twice next time before hooking up with some other girl's boyfriend.
Then reveals the video of Drew admitting that he had sex at his party. I'm not gonna lie, it does make Katie more flawed of a character and kind of interesting, how far she's willing to go to get revenge on Drew. In the long run, it freed her from all of the responsibilities she had to deal with, being school president, so we were able to see a different side of her character afterward. I'm not saying it's perfect, I'm not saying Katie is the most interesting. It's not even the best way to start off the season, but the pettiness doesn't go on too long, so it's whatever. The writers knew that they had to return to Zigg and Maya, and what better way than to have them kiss while Zigg's dating Tori? Both of them agree to keep it a secret. Maya ends up getting back with Cam, knowing that she kissed Zigg, and pretends none of it happened. All of this happening during a beauty pageant, and I'm not really interested in that either, because Maya and Tori were just trying to one-up each other. Then things get even worse when Cam finds out about them kissing, and he becomes insecure and beats up Zigg. I've talked about this more in detail before, but I just felt like the plotline was a drag during this season. This plotline is just a lot weaker in comparison to a lot of the plotlines that I actually do like in the season. In the beginning, Dallas is supposed to be this antagonist. He's the party guy that causes trouble, but I do think some of it's overplayed, even if the brawl at Claire's party is iconic. He also gets so triggered by this girl that he just met when she rejects him.
You can't even man up to your own actions?
I know what you're trying to do and it's not gonna work because I don't care what you think.
Well, you're not going to get away with this.
What do you have on me? Nothing.
And then destroys school property, knowing that he could risk the team getting in trouble, trying to sabotage Eli's play by pointing out the controversies of Romeo and Juliet, participating in basically kidnapping Tristan. Although I know that the point is to show how much of a troublemaker Dallas is, so his character has room to go somewhere, to me it does get a little annoying with every attempt to take them down, over the most trivial of reasons. I didn't really care for the Vegas special. Drew and Bianca plan to elope and plans start to go wrong when Katie, Jake, Marisol, and Mo end up going to Vegas too. It's not that this plotline is bad, I just kind of found myself bored. It just kind of stands out as being a little average, especially when the best block of episodes follows right after this. Nothing really happens in it that much. Drew has a bachelor party, he starts to feel regret about the wedding. I guess the Katie plotline is a little bit more interesting. It focuses on her contemplating sleeping with an older man for money when she realizes that she doesn't have enough money for university. She ends up lying to Jake and they break up because of this. I don't know, the wedding plotline just isn't as interesting to me. And I already know that they weren't going to go through with getting married. The plot is really there so Drew can reconcile with his mom, and so Bianca knows that she's good enough for his family, and that's really the only thing to take away from it, I guess. Everything else just really isn't that interesting. It's not the worst thing ever, I just didn't find it particularly great. There was another plotline that felt a little out of place to me, especially because it happens like 2/3 through the season. When Eli agrees to share lockers with Claire, he ends up finding her journal and then reads it. On top of that, he gets upset at her for her past feelings for Jake. I just feel like it's a little tacked on as a conflict at this point that literally gets resolved at the beginning of the following episode. And it's such a small, petty plotline that's sandwiched in this really emotional block of episodes. Eli's behavior really irritated me, how he felt entitled to her feelings.
Look, I know you dated that lumberjack for like a second, but in the journal it said that you loved him and that you wanted to have sex with him.
What if he loved Imogen while they were broken up? Would that be okay if he had those feelings for her, or does Claire have a right to be angry with his feelings? I've already mentioned that I think this is a step backwards for Eli's development because it feels like he's being possessive and controlling over her, instead of understanding where these feelings are coming from, and also because we kind of went through this already in the season before this.
He loves you, Claire.
I love you too.
So it just feels really pointless. There's another plotline that I've seen others point out, and it was also one that stuck out to me. After finding out that she has to repeat a year because she failed, Imogen gets worried about losing Fiona, and then she ends up attempting to sabotage her career when she had an interview to study fashion in Italy. She impersonates Fiona and makes her look bad.
I'm on to you, Federico. You Italians are a sneaky bunch, and don't even get me started on the Lions.
Miss Cohen, are you inebriated?
So, tell me about the job. You interrupted my prom with my girlfriend to talk about this stupid opportunity.
And I just thought this was uncharacteristic for Imogen to do something like this, even if she was afraid of losing Fiona.
Federico just called my mom to say that I was drunk. Do you know how worried she was? How could you do this? Because I don't want you to go. It's just some stupid job, Fiona. It's my future. And I expect my girlfriend to understand that. Can we just kiss and make up this prom? And we shouldn't waste it fighting. Yeah, you're right.
I know that she was desperate to keep Fiona, and she eventually makes it right by chasing the guy at the airport. And it's unfortunate because I really liked Fiona and Imogen as a pairing. I'm sure that you've noticed as seasons go on, Degrassi starts to feel less grounded and realistic, and more melodramatic and convoluted. A show that was once about focusing on situations that teens experience in somewhat realistic ways became so much more focused on love triangles and melodramatic romances. Characters felt like they weren't really going through meaningful plot lines anymore, and were often thrusted into plot lines where there was really little to explore about characters. And season 13 is where we see a lot of this melodrama start to become really noticeable. The season has some interesting plot lines, but I would say that this is one of the more shallow Degrassi seasons. The character arcs aren't really felt as much. It just feels like there's less of an attempt to explore characters. We've got multiple ongoing love triangles that aren't particularly interesting. The rivalry between Maya and Zoe isn't interesting to me either. For example, the beginning of season 13 is where the rivalry starts between Zoe and Maya.
Wanna go? Sounds awesome. Guess you can come too.
Ooh, green is not your color. And besides, isn't your new boyfriend the one with the backstage pass? If Maya ditches you for some Paris boy, I'm right here. They're killing off her character.
Ow! You two hooking up or what?
No, definitely not.
Awesome. Let's keep it that way.
And that starts over Miles. Then Zoe pretends to be friends with her later. After Maya does try to become friends with Zoe, she starts a bully Paige against Maya after encouraging her to do a music video. It just doesn't feel like Zoe has enough to be angry with Maya about. Like, did Miles really mean that much to her? Even if he did, Maya makes an attempt to apologize, and she still continues with her plan of revenge. It's just frustrating because it feels like Maya is really trying. And I know that she's jealous of Maya, and that's kind of the whole point of this, but still, the rivalry isn't really entertaining, it's just frustrating. There's also the Becky, Imogen, Adam love triangle. I've laid out my frustrations with that plotline before, but to sum up, Becky and Adam don't even get a meaningful plotline before Adam dies. Their conflict isn't even resolved, and Imogen, who I think should have something else individually going on for her, is now interested in Adam, knowing he's been with Becky for a while. It's just irritating that Adam's last plotline was wasted on this. And when you're killing off your, like, only trans character, it even feels a little bit more frustrating. I've said this before, but I feel like the show wasted so many opportunities for Drew to develop as a character. And one of the plot lines where I really realized this was when he started dating Zoe, an impressionable 15-year-old that clearly likes him more than he likes her.
I can't believe I shared my first time with you.
Well, why wouldn't you tell me?
I didn't want to ruin the moment. I thought it was special.
It was special.
But you want to throw it all away.
That is not what I meant. I think we should change our face range status to in a relationship.
And he leads her on, takes her virginity, and then breaks up with her, and barely cares about what he did to her.
You're back to my form now. True. I have to save my job.
Even when he's scolded by his mom, he still defends himself because he broke up with Bianca and because of Adam dying.
Sex is serious, especially for a girl.
I did a dumb thing.
Yeah, and a selfish thing, and an insensitive thing. I thought I raised a better man.
But Drew never really feels like he comes to the conclusion that what he did was wrong on his own. It feels like his mom yelled at him and he feels obligated to apologize to her.
Do that and regret it too? It's someone else who thinks that about me. Great. You used me. Nothing changed for you. You get to keep your job and your friends. I should thank you. My mom always told me never to trust guys, but I didn't believe her.
Sorry.
I'll never make that mistake again.
I just didn't like how the storyline was executed. The Claire, Eli, Drew love triangle is also an ongoing plotline throughout the season, developing as Claire and Eli's relationship drifts apart. The most annoying part of this love triangle is that Claire ends up getting back with Eli without really resolving any of their issues in the first place. In the process, the show starts to worsen Eli as a character, the way he treats Claire. On top of that, Claire and Drew aren't as close as they were after all this, which sucks that a friendship was ruined because of it. It also sucks that Claire and Eli just get back together because they're just so destined to be together. But we have no reflection from Eli about the cheating. He just does a grand romantic gesture, printing out all of their emails and putting them into a book. And this is supposed to be their story, and I guess supposed to fix the problems. How has Eli acknowledged the issues that led to him starting anything with Lenore? He still has to go back to New York. What's supposed to have really changed here? When Eli does go back, they're still dating long distance, and Claire is upset when Eli can't make it for their bungee jumping date, which feels like we're back to where we started. How is Claire really supposed to feel more at ease? How does she know that he's not going to cheat again when he feels lonely? She also starts to feel lonely again when the distance starts to become too much, and eventually cheats on Eli with Drew. Well, I guess she broke up with Eli over voicemail, so it's up to you whether you count that as cheating or not. She breaks up with Eli after this, and then toward the end of the season, when she's stuck in New York for the night, she gets to conveniently stay with Eli, where again nothing is acknowledged, but it's implied that they'll get back together, revealing at the end of the season that Claire is pregnant. And I'm just sitting there like, are we really doing this? We're really doing this, aren't we? We also get a plotline where Tristan enters a relationship with his teacher, and they're really at it again. Let's see if they can get it right this time. I think some parts of the plotline are handled well, showing how his teacher starts to groom Tristan, while other parts though feel a lot more like they're romanticizing the relationship again. It's definitely a step up from how they handled Sav and Miss O, but something about this plotline just feels off. Tristan ends up blaming Maya for the whole thing and ignores her. I think they make up somewhere in the middle of season 14, and I kind of wish that Tristan had some more self-reflection and realized, oh yeah, Maya was trying to protect me. It just felt like even when they made up, Tristan wasn't really understanding why Maya did what she did. And that's the thing, we don't really get to focus on the aftermath of how this affects Tristan. We don't even hear about Yates again, like does he get arrested? Does he just get fired? I mean, I guess there's not much that we can know about what's to happen with him, but I think there's some interesting places that they could have gone with this.
That creepo Yates caught me. He was so mad.
Why are you calling Mr. Yates a creepo?
Because he tried to grope me.
No way. Grant would never do that.
I was there, dude. Why are you defending him?
I just wish that we got to see more of how this impacted Tristan. There was a plotline where Becky was playing some type of online game and then developed an attraction to Hunter, who's speaking in a British accent.
Now watch.
How did you do that?
Magic. I can do anything for you.
Sir Excellence, where did your armor go?
Don't worry, we're alone.
I stopped there.
I get what the plotline was trying to show, how Becky is coping with what Luke did, but I just felt like overall this plotline was just pointless. Becky just comes to the conclusion that she needs to get a life. On top of that, the show is just out of touch when it comes to gaming, so secondhand embarrassment just comes with the territory here.
Everything's better when it stays online.
Realm of Doom is just a game.
The fact that you would even say that proves that you don't get it. Real world people always disappoint. Online, I'm a hero. You want to live IRL, you go ahead, noob. You tell anyone about what we did in the Meadow of Zorath, I will find you and I will turn you into a troll.
After the Paris arc, Zigg sees that Maya and Miles have started dating. Zigg doesn't like that, and of course drama ensues. Zigg refuses to back down. Miles frames Zigg by falsely reporting drugs in his locker. Maya clearly has feelings for Zigg, which is why she is willing to go so far to protect him, but it also feels like she's enabling his behavior at times, which is annoying. Zigg then starts living with Maya, and Miles isn't happy about that. Miles and Zigg then get into a fight after Zigg says some pretty offensive things about Maya.
Look, Maya's worried, Zigg. I know you care.
Actually, I don't.
Well, I do. I'm not letting you ruin this for her.
Yeah, that's right. Walk away. Go back to my sloppy seconds.
Just a great guy. And then later, Miles ends up pulling a gun out on Zigg. Do you see all of this escalation? It's just so ridiculous for everything to build to this point, and on top of that, Zigg gets off easy with being the victim. And Maya barely listens to Miles. I just find myself tuning out while watching this because it just feels so manufactured. Even when we saw characters that had rivalries in the past, it just never really felt this bad. It really had me step back and wonder how we got to this point when the show used to be more realistic. This just becomes a dime a dozen plotline after a while that you start to not care which direction it goes. Season 14 is definitely the worst. When a show goes on for this long, are we really surprised that that's the case? One of the most frustrating plotlines of the season involves Zoe starting a whole ring of exchanging nudes online. She has the whole cheerleading squad do this too. She turns into a real bitch, forcing all of the girls into doing it.
I knew you were the blackmailer.
No, it was I.
You guys thought I would incriminate myself on tape? I'm not about to lose to you losers.
And never at a certain point do I really feel sympathy for her when she gets into trouble because she caused all of this. The way she treats Frankie is just detestable.
What the hell are you doing? Getting insurance. I have this picture of you, undressed, with your face easily identifiable. I'm saying you need to do your part or you're no longer welcome on this squad. And don't even think about ratting us out. You're just as implicated as we are. Do you know what happens if people find out I did this? All that stuff gets dragged out again. In the halls, the press, your rich daddy will bail you out and make it go away. Life isn't fair, sweetie.
And even though she went through this really horrible thing, it doesn't just cancel out and make it so she can do horrible stuff and no one can call her out ever.
But you did force us to send naked pictures of ourselves to people we didn't even know.
I'm the scary one?
Yeah, you're a bully. The only reason they stuck around so long is because they're worried about going to jail. Unless you come clean, be honest for once in your life, ruin your friends' lives too, and they'll hate you forever.
And it just feels like such a step backwards when we started to see some sympathetic sides to Zoe before this. The Claire, Drew, Eli plotline gets worse when Claire assumes that her baby is Drew's and hopes that Eli will still be involved. I understand his anger and frustration, but it really doesn't excuse how he treats her.
How stupid are you? You can't fix things between us because there is no us. You threw it all away. New York, our future together, everything we've been through. You ruined everything. So you could jump into bed with Drew Torres? Tears, Claire? Didn't expect to see those from such a whore.
And then, of course, she ends up being wrong about how far along she was, and it ends up being Eli's.
What the hell, Claire? When were you going to tell me that Eli was the father? I mean, how could you be so stupid?
It was an innocent mistake.
Innocent? You didn't even know who the father of your kid was. I mean, what is this?
I'm sorry, okay?
I gave up my life for you, Claire. I told my mom. I broke up with Becky. And for what?
And once he finds this out, he's all of a sudden willing to step up and prove how committed he is. I hate this storyline so much because she ends up losing the baby. It's just a way to get Eli and Claire back together. And again, Claire and Eli's problems aren't really explored in any meaningful way. It also feels like so much to add on top of a character that's already had cancer, literally within the same year. Because the show couldn't really think of anything else for Winston to do, they have him cheat on Frankie by kissing Lola after she gives him a small compliment. He tries to hide it from her, and he's not even the one to tell her that he cheated. I just found myself rolling my eyes because this was the only conflict they could think of for these characters. And these are new characters, so they really should be giving them more interesting plot lines so they can stand on their own in the future. And because they aren't really that interesting to begin with, and they give them unoriginal plot lines, it's just like, why do I care? Frankie basically cheats on Winston later because all the writers can think to do is love triangles and cheating. I already hated the fact that Becky and Drew even consider dating one another, but season 14 just makes things worse with how they completely ruin any aspects that I liked about Becky to begin with. She takes a liking to Jonah, born-again Christian bad boy. Drew starts to become more jealous. Becky starts contemplating her beliefs because of her attraction to Jonah, and then she breaks up with Drew, who's also pretty petty, and accuses Becky and Jonah of making out in the hallway just to get them in trouble.
When I caught these two making out on the stairwell, which is a direct violation of the rules outlined in these flyers.
What? Okay, that's not true.
Yeah, he's lying.
This just really irritated me. I was just in complete disbelief at the state that the show was in at this point.
I don't like you. I did, but I don't anymore. I know you said no because you were jealous of me and Jonah.
Oh, so there is something going on between you two.
That's not the point. I felt bad about using you, and that's why I wanted to tell you the truth.
Oh, now you want to tell the truth.
Everything okay?
Stay out of the guy liner.
No need to be insulted.
The end of season 14 has another 2-hour special focusing on the summer, and it's a horror special. The plot lines are pretty lackluster overall. Maya even ends up getting dragged into this whole kidnapping plot. Frankie works as an intern and starts developing feelings for this guy that doesn't like her back and is using her for money. Maya works as a nanny for these kids, which leads her to discovering the truth of what happened to the previous nanny, who was the girlfriend of the guy that Frankie likes, and they were both in on a plan to frame her. Maya even ends up getting dragged into this whole kidnapping plot when she discovers the girlfriend walking around. It leads to this whole thing where Maya is kidnapped and held captive. Honestly, I just found this special kind of boring overall. Frankie is willing to go so far for this guy. There's just not really much substance at this point. I just couldn't get into any of the plot lines. It makes me miss the days of Claire stumbling upon Jake and Allie kissing. A show that I really liked has every other character in a love triangle acting petty, doing things that just make them completely unlikable and annoying. I just miss character development, which seemed like something that was lacking in the latter half of the show. As we've seen, the show has never been perfect, but you see how the plot lines get more convoluted and less relatable, they become less interesting, and they just also feel more shallow. At least that's how it feels to me. It starts to feel empty and it just doesn't feel like the same show anymore. Characters started to become worse over time. Their plot lines became a lot more contrived. The tone is completely different, if you notice too, from the beginning of the show to now. To me, these plot lines are just the worst of the worst. We've also seen the show at its best, so I don't want that to be forgotten. Degrassi is a show that resonates with a lot of people for one reason or another, and I think that's why I critique it the way I do with such depth, because I've seen the show at its best, and I know that the writing could have been better. I'm sure that there are plot lines that you didn't like that I missed, so I'd love love to hear your opinions. If you made it to this part of the video, I appreciate all of you, and I will see you in the next one.